Okay, part two. I'll go faster. We're going to my name now. And this particular vignette reveals a lot about Esperanza herself. So let's look at the devices and the things that she uses in order to do that. In English, my name means hope. In Spanish, it means too many letters. Okay, I want you guys to figure out if it literally means too many letters or the name Esperanza is too many letters, right? Itself, like it's a mouthful, it's weird, it's not the same as all of her friends. She's very self-conscious about it. We also have in English this, in Spanish that. Those two things are paired next to each other in order to compare them, and that is called juxtaposition. It's a good word, SAT word, you should know it. Okay, so putting the two things next to each other in order to compare or contrast them. And so we also get this idea of her trying to find her identity in two different cultures. So keep that as in mind as a thematic idea. What I would do at the end of each little vignette is write down the characters that you met in there and maybe something about them. Maybe an adjective that describes them or something like that. You have lots of room to write on the pages. And then I would also write down themes, and I would write dual culture, I would write identity, I would write dreams, whatever it might be that's in there. All right, so let's keep going. It means, so there's that repetition again. It means sadness. It means waiting. Notice how those are two little short sentences there, and they're kind of jammed together with the comma, which is not grammatically correct, but it's poetic here, right? It is like the number 9. There's a simile. It's a muddy color. That's just a fragment, right? And so notice the poetic elements that are here as she's talking about her name. It is the Mexican records. There's a metaphor. My father plays on Sunday mornings when he is shaving. Songs like sobbing, right? So if we looked at all of these things together, what sort of images do we get of how she views herself, right? The number 9. Who picks the number 9? Sorry if that is your sports number and it is offensive, but it's not quite 10, right? It's like the last single digit. It's not enough. It's not big enough to be double digits. It's not really like a lucky number per se. She says her name is a muddy color. Muddy, right? Like who wants to picture themselves as a muddy color? And so we kind of see maybe she feels like dirty or not pretty, right? It is the Mexican records my father plays. So we get something about her culture, yes, and sort of how they live, but also songs like sobbing. So maybe some sense of like loss about who she is, right? I used to hear the songs my dad played in the mornings. His bathroom was like in between my parents' bedroom and my bedroom, and his songs were not songs like sobbing. They were like jubilant and just fun and feel good, and I always associate that with my dad. And notice that's a very different memory that I claim and that I have than what Esperanza's saying. Okay, here we go. It was my great-grandmother's name, and now it is mine. Okay, so through what she says about her great-grandmother, we're going to get some information about her. We're also going to get some information about Mexican culture that was foreshadowed in Boys and Girls, right? Because we're going to see some things about males and females in the Mexican culture. She was a horsewoman too. No, it does not mean that she looks like a horse. She was born in the Chinese year of the horse, just like Esperanza, which is supposed to be bad luck if you're born female. But I think this is a Chinese lie, because the Chinese, like the Mexicans, don't like their women strong. All right, so that Boys and Girls chapter, vignette, this goes back to that, right? My great-grandmother, I would have liked to have known her, a wild horse of a woman. So wild she wouldn't marry. All right, picture like a non-domesticated horse out there. It's just majestic and beautiful and powerful and strong, right? And Esperanza seems to value those traits. Until my great-grandfather threw a sack over her head and carried her off. Just like that, as if she were a fancy chandelier, right? Something practical you put up in a house, it's for show, right? That's the way he did it. Now, did the grandfather literally put a sack over her head and ride off into the distance? No, right? But maybe we get this idea that it was against her will. She didn't want that. She didn't choose that. And it was forced upon her. So maybe a sense of like forced marriage, or just there were no other places to go in her life. And that's going to echo some of the things we talked about in the Zoom meeting about Cisneros herself, and how her father wanted to sort of trap her into this one role, and she wanted something different for her life. And the story goes, she never forgave him. She looked out the window her whole life, the way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow. You can just picture her grandmother looking out the window. Okay, so we have something symbolic here. And I think we talked about this with with the last piece that we read in Holden looking out the window. A window gives you a vision, it gives you freedom, it gives you the potential you can see, right? But someone sitting at the window, sitting their sadness on their elbow. A very vivid image there, right? Of yearning, of wanting more, of being trapped perhaps. I wonder if she made the best with what she got, or was she sorry because she couldn't be all the things she wanted to be? Esperanza. Okay, then we get the name, right? I have inherited her name, but I don't want to inherit her place by the window. Here we have Esperanza's dreams, hopes, freedom, right? At school, they say my name funny, as if the syllables were made out of tin and hurt the roof of your mouth, simile. But in Spanish, my name is made out of a softer something, like silver. Not quite as thick as my sister's name, Magdalena. And notice Magdalena is Nini. But I am always Esperanza, right? And so here she is. There's this cultural blend again. Her name in Spanish, it's soft and it's beautiful and it's not thick. But in the English language, she's like, I don't fit in, right? It sounds different. I would like to baptize myself. All right, we think of baptism as recreating, and you're new and you're fresh and you're not the same anymore, right? A name more like the real me, the way the one nobody sees. Identity. Can you form our identity? After you do the hairs assignment, I'd be interested to see if what you guys think about that, and sort of how Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is trying to sort of reinvent herself with this physical appearance. Esperanza as Lysandra, or Maritza, or Zizi the X. Yes, something like Zizi the X will do. All right, now we may laugh at that and be like, eye roll, ha, that's so silly, that's ridiculous. Think back to a time when you've pretended to be someone else, right? And think about what Zizi the X might mean, right? What traits does that give her, right? Instead of laughing at the situation or saying, that's so silly, this doesn't make sense, it's ridiculous. Maybe she wants, it sounds superhero-ish to me. Or it sounds like, I don't know, I want to know your opinion. So maybe as we recap this and think about why she wants to rename herself this. Maybe it's something outside of both cultures. She doesn't have to try to fit in either one, but she sort of created her own space. Let's see what other questions I might have about that. I think that's it. Just think about that a little bit. What other ideas do you have about ZZVX as we go through? All right, the last one, Kathy, Queen of Cats, in this section. She says, I am the great-great-grandcousin of the Queen of France. Point of view is Kathy's there, right? This is not Esperanza. This is the first word, or the first sentence here being narrated by Kathy. And then it jumps back to Esperanza. So this chapter we have some shifts in point of view, POV. Sorry. Kathy, then Esperanza. This is where she lives. And notice we're gonna get some people. Joe the baby grabber, okay? We probably have to find out who that is. Benny and Blanca. Edna. Let's see. And so we go through Alicia. You're gonna meet all of these different people in the vignettes, okay? Alicia is now stuck up. She used to like me, but now she doesn't. There's a sense of escaping this horrible situation. Kathy, who is Queen of Cats, has cats and cats and cats. Baby cats, big cats, skinny cats, sick cats. Cats asleep like little donuts. Cats on top of the refrigerator. Cats taking a walk on the dinner table. Her house is like a cat heaven. All right, so what does this tell us about so many cats, right? Is it sort of a bad neighborhood and cats are overrunning the neighborhood? What is the deal with that? And why does Esperanza call her a queen? There's something Esperanza maybe values about that, right? And then Kathy, of course, tells her, I'll be your friend until next Tuesday. We move away. Got to. Here's Kathy's voice again. Then, as if she forgot, I just moved in. She says the neighborhood is getting bad. Imagine if you live in a place and somebody just moves in and they say the neighborhood's getting bad, you're stuck, I'm moving, we can't be around people like you. Notice this sort of stereotypes here and this just sort of presentation of your space, maybe defining who you are. Kathy's father will have to fly to France one day and find her great distant grandcousin on her own father's side. How do I know this is so? She told me. In the meantime, they'll just have to move a little farther north from Mango Street, a little farther away every time people like us keep moving in. Okay, so again, you get Kathy's voice, and probably through Kathy, you even get like her parents' voice, and she's probably repeating what she's heard, right? We have to move away from these kind of people. So we really see that stereotypes in there, and we see the sort of injustice and what tends to happen and how we break down neighborhoods and say what's okay and what's not in our society. And we do these things. Okay, from here on out, as you keep reading, again, keep track of characters, descriptions, look for poetic style devices, and really pay attention to what does the little vignette say about Esperanza and her situation, and look for themes that we have talked about in the Zoom meeting as well. All right, happy reading. You'll have a great day. Bye. Thanks for being great students.